What up, people? It's your boy, Master Chudy, out here with another Stargirl review. So, we have Stargirl episode 4. And I have to say, while this episode was good, it had weaknesses. Not a lot of weaknesses, but there are weaknesses I couldn't help but noticing. And maybe they're just nitpicks of mine, but I think they are problems. But just to let you know, there are spoilers in this review. So, if you haven't watched it, or you don't mind spoilers, feel free to. But the episode pretty much starts with, as we saw in the last episode of 3, that Stargirl wants to recruit a new JSA, basically speaking. So she takes all of their suits and their memorabilia and tries to recruit one. So the last 3 episodes up to now, we've seen a girl named Yolanda, who is essentially the second Wildcat as she is in the comics. And, Yolanda is a tragic character. At the beginning, they give a great backstory how she was into student government. She was a top student. She was into boxing, a lot of fighting. And, she was a nice girl. Had a boyfriend who was Icicle, well, not Icicle Jr., but sorry, Brainwave's son, Henry King Jr. And, things were going well. And then, of course, the resident mean girl, uh, Cindy, basically, hold on. Cindy, Cindy, who's later revealed to be the daughter of the Dragon King, Dr. Ito, who apparently took back Henry King from Yolanda, screws with her because I guess Henry King decided to be a bit of a ass, forgive my language, and decided to ask for some explicit photos. And with a little bit of peer pressure and wanting to show that she's like, yeah, I'm a good girlfriend to my boyfriend. She decides to send them. And uh, despite what it looks like, he did try to keep them to himself. But of course, Cindy comes in. I don't know what she did, how she did it, which is something I'll get into. But she managed to get a hold of the photos and then she decides to share them in front when she's making her huge Yolanda for president type of thing. And she's running for student government president. And of course, she gets betrayed and disgraced, and then that's done. Um, and Yolanda keeps to herself. Now, pretty much, where does that get Courtney to come into? Um, you know, Basically, she wants to recruit Yolanda to become a new member of her JSA. And Yolanda's like, I don't want anybody to talk to me. Leave me alone. I just want to be to myself. But Courtney, through her persistence, decides to push it. Um, we don't get much of the villains basically. We do get to see the Dragon King, and he's quite an interesting villain. He's also very intimidating, and he starts giving out some lore, basically saying that yeah, I'll never betray you, as he's talking to Icicle, and I guess he wanted to keep the magician's body, which is like I don't know what he wanted to do with that, but the A plot really is Yolanda coming to becoming Wildcat. And as we see in her home life is not good. Her parents have kind of they haven't denounced her, they haven't disowned her, but it's pretty much the closest thing. They've grounded her for life, which is odd. And that's what pushes her to Courtney, because Courtney's the first person to really be nice to her in the last couple of months. So she becomes Wildcat, and the montage of it was a bit different. Um, she the suit manages to fit her form, which is pretty nice and whatnot. And so they decide to go on a little investigation to see what type of villains could possibly be exploring Brainwave's hospital bed. Allow me to go back. Basically, Courtney decides to confess everything to Yolanda. She shows her the staff, tells her Starman was her father, the whole shebang. And that's when she gets to see the suit, and she's like, oh, okay. So they do a little bit of training exercises as you can and whatnot, and they decide to just go to the hospital and everything like that. So they go to the hospital and they see that um, that Brainwave was there, catatonic, and everything like that. And they see that the principal of their school came to play a little violin ditty without signing into the hospital guest book. So obviously they figured out that she's a villain and whatnot. The B plot is with Pat, and Pat Dugan has always been, a nice guy. He doesn't really do much in this episode per se, except warn Courtney, but he does, try to talk with. He does talk with the most recently widowed magician's wife, and she's telling him, hey, don't trust this city. There's something going down, and he thinks, and he's like, oh. And then pretty much at the end of the episode, the two A and B plots converge a bit. Yolanda smartly tells, you know, Courtney that, I need to be myself. I got to reclaim my life before I can start donning on a cape or a mask. And unfortunately, her parents decide to say, yeah, no, we'll never accept, you can't go back to the way you were. You disgraced us and just go to your room. Which pretty much pushes Yolanda to say, you know what, okay, fine. I am going to become Wildcat. And then we get to Pat Dugan, who's been getting parts for his Stripe robot, trying to improve it and whatnot. And then he sees that the car that he fixed up for the magician's widowed wife has been destroyed. It's been wrecked and was dumped there, which you can only assume that she died and she was taken out. And that episode ends there. So let's get into the pros and the cons of this episode right here. Um, my first pro is definitely Yolanda. I did like the backstory of her. I did like that. She's got issues. She can no longer trust people, and for right reasons. She got her trust obliterated in the most public way possible. Nobody would ever want that to ever happen. But we see that she wants to keep to herself. She's very skeptical. She doesn't get into it. I was initially worried about, oh gosh, she's got the suit and she could do amazing things now, and oh my gosh, here I am. But we see that when she tries to jump off a clock tower to test out her powers at first, she she's afraid to. She lacks the confidence to. And so they decide to just take the stairs down, which I thought was very nice. She struggles to climb a wall, which I think is also very good to show that, hey, I may know how to do some fighting, but this is new, and it's very invigorating, but scary at the same time. We also see that she has some issues of revenge because she happened to be in Brainwave's hospital room, only to see him, Henry King Jr., her ex-boyfriend, and she's getting ready to go ahead and slice my man's with those claws. But when she hears him mourning for his father, she realizes like, oh gosh, what am I doing? What am I doing? And so she decides to go against it. So Yolanda's a very complex character. I really like her, and she's just trying to do what she can. Um, Basically, what else was another pro? I think the staff itself's awkwardness and its sentience is not as a glaring distraction as I made it out to be previously. It worked well this time, especially when Courtney was using it to fly. So I think that's very nice as well. Um, Pacing was also very good as well, and the pacing was also very good as well. Um, you know, the plot was okay, so I think it was good. There are two mixed things that I have in before I go into my con. One was the black was the Wildcat suit on Yolanda. Now, initially, I thought that the face and the mask was too much outwardly, but it looked okay, better than I expected. But at the same time, I'm like, they ripped off Black Panther. That's clearly the Black Panther suit. Even the purplish glow was straight out Black Panther. They ain't slick, but it is what it is. Another mixed thing I have with this episode also was Beth Chapel, who the girl who's always bringing stuff for her father and her mother, and she loves them and everything like that. Now, I always thought she was way too perky for my taste, way too bubbly. But it was good to see that her mother was like, "Hey, I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you, but you need to find some friends." And she's like, and she was about to say, "But you guys are my." And my mom was like, "Nah, nah, we're your parents. We love you, but don't keep doing this anymore." But and that's it. Now there are several cons I had. Several cons. One, I did not like Courtney, and this is maybe just me. I did not like Courtney going in and just saying, "Yes, I'm Stargirl, and I'm Stargirl, and Starman was my dad, and this is everything, and these are all the superhero things, and this is that, this and that, everything." Like, we need you to breathe a bit. Like, you could have done this. I would have preferred she started recruiting people like halfway into the season, or maybe three-quarters into the season. We need you to do what you need to do. Like, you and Pat, I mean, are there. And granted, I get that she's impatient and doesn't want Pat because Pat might be holding her back, but we need to see her grow as a character. And, obviously she's going to have partners, but I feel like introducing too many cooks in the kitchen takes away from the main cook. Uh, Another con that I also had was freaking Mike. Okay, Mike is an annoying kid. Mike Dugan is very annoying. Like, you can't be this graciously obnoxious. Maybe he'll grow on me, but for the now, Mike is striking out with me, man. He's striking out. Number three, another con is Cindy Berman. Like, nobody can be that evil. Like, come on, not the cliche mean girl type of thing. What she did was kind of like despicable. Like, and yeah, teenagers are capable of despicable things, but I mean, that was a little bit too much for doing that to Yolanda. I thought that was extremely callous. And speaking of callous, there's my fourth con. The parents' attitude to the whole thing. Okay, granted, what she did was wrong, and she admitted it. And the parents have every right to be angry. You're going around sharing, photos of that explicit nature to someone who really shouldn't have any business seeing it because he pressured you to, and he broke your trust. But that said, like, I understand maybe grounding her for a month, but this happened for 3 months, and she was told like, "Oh, you've disgraced the family. You're not allowed to go outside. We won't go to your school. We have so much shame. We won't take you to church. We won't do this." I'm like, why? And what's even worse is that when she acknowledged, like, "Look, I beg for your forgiveness. I've done wrong, and I know what I've done is wrong, but I want to change, and I want to do better, and I need your help. Please help me." We get the moms saying, "Well, you can never go back. You disgraced us. How could you do this to us? You disgraced us." And then they send her back to her room. And I'm like, why? Why? Come on, man. Like that. Come on. Come on. I'm like, I can't believe this. But that's it for my pros, my mix, and my cons. There are a couple of Easter eggs I did like. I heard Jakeem's name, which means Jakeem Thunder might be in this is in this universe, which I thought was pretty nice because I've been reading the Teen Titans recently, and I recently got introduced to Jakeem Thunder, so I thought that was pretty nice as well. Um, so who knows what we're gonna get? So my final ranking for this episode will have to be a 7 out of 10. It's definitely the weakest one, and it's of no fault really of the writing. It's just, well, maybe you could say it's the writing, but I just didn't like the direction of this episode. But so far this show has been fantastic. Um, it's been good, but this one has a 7 out of 10. So thank y'all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment below. And make sure you hit the notifications to make sure you're notified. Once again, I do these reviews for you, the people, because I want to discuss good shows like this. Get your views on them. Thank y'all for watching, and I hope to have more videos up when I can. Peace.